Great sessions. We're going to kick off shortly with Jorge from LATAM Autos talking around transforming business to the transactional model. So we're very much looking forward to what he has to say from a LATAM Autos perspective. We're going to have Niels from the Netherlands talking about housing anywhere, which is a very young, smart, innovative business that's transforming the rentals marketplace. Then Ariel Meyer from OLX will be doing a presentation about how they're approaching transactions, actually primarily through the Latin American market, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then we'll wrap up this morning before the morning tea break with Scott from AutoWeb. So I've got four fantastic speakers to start. But I'd like to invite up on the stage Jorge from LATAM Autos, the CEO there. They've done a fantastic job at really creating a new innovative model within the Latin American automotive market. So, okay, thank you very much.
Well, thanks. I hope everybody had a good time last night, and very glad to be back here after last year. And yeah, so, I wanted to present you a little bit of what's our vision, and how do we view the industry and what has happened during the last few years, how the industry has evolved for us, at least from a vertical point of view. And so I'll take you through it, and then I'll share with you a little bit of what has happened with going into the transaction, how we migrated towards the transaction, what was required for us to go there, how deep have we gotten in, and how hard it has been for us to change our mindset and align all the areas of the company in order to actually achieve what we want to have, which is a company that keeps growing and meets shareholder expectations in general. And so basically, around 2007, we started seeing free general classifieds enter the market. Around 2011, free general classifieds started growing their audience. I don't know, many of you probably remember they started doing significant marketing investments, and they started to cause a little bit of friction at that point. But we were still managing to survive under the existing lead generation model for our customers. Around 2014, the standalone auto classified did not, in general, I would say, many of the classifieds were not able to consolidate themselves, and it became more challenging to monetize. The verticals on 2015 began to look into new revenue streams, understanding the changes that the industry was undergoing through. And finally, in 2017, with the arrival of Facebook and Google, it accelerates the transition that we have to undergo as a vertical towards new revenue streams. And this also, I think, it represents a significant threat to the general free classifieds. I think at this point I have to, we've had a lot of conversations about Facebook and how is they're going to be impacting. But it's not only Facebook. The truth is that Google is also getting deeply involved in the transactions, in the classifieds. And my conclusion to that is that in many ways, leads have become a commodity, or will be, or are in the process of becoming a commodity. Basically, everybody's got it. The bigger the audience, the more volume you got. So this turns out to be more about quality than quantity. General listings, general leads have become commoditized in many ways. Just a little background. I think that traditional classifieds have not undergone substantial changes since they were invented. I mean, if you see the classifieds and how they interact with us from Craigslist going back to the mid-90s to what we have right now, we basically haven't seen substantial changes. In many ways, classifieds have been doing the same thing for the last 20-some years. And so I think that's important to say, because usually technology moves a little bit faster, so I'm not surprised that at this point we've got all these players, all these things going on in the industry. Actually, it's part of the industry, it's part of the industry where we work at. We did coexist for many years. Mercado Libre was always there, doing a great job in many areas, and a lot of the verticals were able to manage and just have their clients, and we coexisted in many ways. But that changed over the years. As the volume lowered and lower quality of leads from general classifieds increased, the lead generation started to focus more on trying to find high conversion rates and better quality of leads. And I think that was what we tried to do for many years when we started seeing the beginning stages of us seeing the free general classifieds coming to the market. But we did understand that the changing on the business model had to be done. We looked as a company, we decided to embrace the change rather than move away from it or stick with our existing business model without modifying it. We were absolutely certain that the business had to be changed. So for that, we looked at the consumer journey. And we said, all right, from our lead generation to product offering, how can this change? Existing buyer journey and the opportunities that we have to be looked at and need to be understood. So the first thing we did is we understood that there was an underserved segment in the automotive industry when it comes to the relationship between the client and the dealers. One of the very illustrating things for me, and one of the most significant experiences that I had that actually had a big impact on the way we have transformed, is when I came to Miami about 4 years ago and I met with a dealer, which was referred to by a friend. And we started having a conversation, and then we realized that in this market, how it works for the used car dealers is that in many cases they don't make any money from selling the actual cars. They make money from the additional product. So you can sell a car for $10,000, buy it for $10,000, sell it for $10,000, but then you make a pretty good commission on the financing, on the extended warranty, and the insurance. So that opened my eyes, that opened our eyes, and we realized that there was a significant opportunity in the developed markets, and a very important, very deep opportunity, because there was a structural change that had to be needed. Further, as I was talking to different people, I even realized in one conversation with Gonzalo, he was telling me that in Spain, the cars that are financed are actually cheaper than the ones that we pay cash. So that's how strong the structural change in the industry is. So we had to develop a new business model, involve parties and let them profit for it. Another thing that we wanted to do, and we thought it was important, is to get all the involved parties and all involved parties in the transaction, sit down with them, and try to become partners, try to generate revenue for them, and not only become lead generation suppliers. So we don't want to be anymore a supplier of leads. We need to be partners with the dealers. We need to help them make money, and we need to make more money ourselves, and we need to differentiate from the traditional classifieds, general classifieds, and all the competitors that are there. So I think the most important part of that was to select the key partners. We did understand as well that this could not be done by ourselves. As I'll show you the next couple of slides, some of these additional cross-sell businesses that we have gotten into are relatively complex and definitely need partnerships. Unless you may be a huge company that has incredible resources to do financing yourself, and if you're willing to do so, you don't want to do that in case you're a rather smaller business like ourselves. So how do we come about doing all this? So we basically, step by step, in order to develop a new mission with multiple revenue models, we basically thought that we had to take advantage of the existing network, audience, and structure of the company. The real key for us was to actually create this new business model that utilize the existing structure, existing networks, and existing relationships with our clients. In that way, we have been able to actually add a lot of value to the company without entering into huge additional costs. And then finding the value in deeper specialization. And how do we create a more value relationship, a deeper value in the value chain itself with our partners and with the whole network of parties that are involved in the transaction and in the automotive purchasing. And third, we developed products that help us to get closer to the transaction. That was a very important aspect of it. So we looked at it, we looked at a whole bunch of products, and we decided, okay, how do we get closer? One of my big frustrations that I had for many years, as I've been in classifieds for a long time, is the fact that we were never able to transfer the prices from the newspapers to the internet in the same relationship. It was very hard for us, at least in South America. Prices have been going down for the last 15 years. So this has been a very significant challenge. So one of the most important ways for me to actually create this model was to take a percentage of the transaction. And this is a key, for me, this is a key element. How do you take a percentage of the transaction? Well, you have to get involved. Otherwise, if you just simply a marketplace, I think that you have a different business. And for marketplaces, the most significant part is volume. If you have huge volume, maybe you can leverage on listings. But if you don't, you need to focus on transactions that get part of it. And then, as I mentioned before, create complementary partnerships and alliances to deliver value. And develop a new vision with multiple business revenue models. So we basically started talking about the process. This is without legal classified design. For us, classifieds remain very important because they are the center of the business that we have still. But we've changed the focus of how we see classifieds now. We don't see classifieds, we see classifieds as a tip of the spear, yet the monetization comes from somewhere else. So Modify, let me introduce you, is basically our technology that enables LATAM Autos to cross-sell a range of products to our customers. The initial range of cross-sell products are auto finance, insurance, GPS, tracking, etc. And we've been expanding the product offering through this app. And this will be tied directly to our classifieds, which are different brands in different countries. Modify integrates with credit management systems at this point. In real time, it automates the assessment process. It leads customers to the financial institutions, to dealers, agencies, and our respective sales force. It automated the process. So, one of the great things is that you take the application in our Modify app. You can, do the whole application in real time. You can do the submission of all the documentation that is required, and even you can see the disbursement coming through the application. Modify has several key elements, right? So it closes all these different new revenue streams that we have created. The online credit applications, a pre-approval in seconds, directly to credit bureau, status information features. we added a quotation tool because we realized that it was very important for the dealers to get close to our technology. So what we did is we included a quotation tool which they did not have. We thought it was pretty interesting, the fact that a lot of the dealers, when they were asked for a price, they had to go to the computer, take a picture, and just basically, create a quotation from the beginning rather than having something that would work for them. So we did this in a very simple manner. But interesting enough, the quotation tool is used also for cars that are sold cash. But those cars that are sold cash, on the bottom of the cash quotation, they get a proposal of financing as well. So that means that we are getting also, at the same time, a lead that we can contact in the future in order for us to sell them credit or insurance or one of our cross-sell products. You can download the documents and the link classifieds will be released in the next quarter. And that way they're not even going to have to take the pictures. And they will actually be using the pictures from our classifieds directly. We've tried to innovate in many ways we can. In the markets where we see a lot more movement, we have set small kiosks in certain markets, in certain strategic places, where we actually help the customer answer all their questions and most of the questions that they may have around credit acquisition and insurance and stuff like that. The result, basically, is that our Modify app and our cross-sell products have been growing strong. We first launched in Ecuador, and then a few months later, we launched in Mexico. And the growth is exponential. We're pretty happy with what we have achieved. We're very excited about the future because it definitely shows the potential that we have and how much specialization pays off. We have specialized deeply into the transaction with cars and in the automotive industry in general. Today, this is our products that we offer, and we have a few more in the pipeline. So we have used car financing. We're about to come out with our new car financing product, which we think is going to be an additional, very powerful product for our market. Satellite tracking devices, which are always needed every time you insure a car. You are required in Latin America to get a satellite tracking device whenever you insure a car. And then we have the fraud prevention services. If you have been in Mexico, you probably know that if you're selling a car, you have a lot of, there's high chances of being part of a fraud. People really are scared of getting stiffed, getting ripped on a car. So it's fundamental to be security to the transaction. We believe that, at least in the Mexican market, where this is absolutely crucial, there's a line of products that we are incorporating to these services. Among those are escrow services, where we actually hold the money during the transaction. This allows us to actually keep a percentage of the transaction itself. So it's absolutely, it's very interesting for us in many ways. And it gives us a very good relationship with the clients. It adds value to the transaction. Both sellers and buyers enjoy more security in the transaction. Insurance has become a very good source of income for us. We have understood how to sell insurance. It's not only about the buyer, it's not only about it's doing a lot more. It's understanding deeply how the insurance how insurance is bought, how insurance is, what is it appealing to the buyer, how do you transmit, and then how do you convert. You know, we have become a company that is all about funnels. We have funnels for every single one of these products, and we track those funnels to the day to day, and we are very, very strict on how to evolve and how to develop better conversion rates. We have partnered with a very large company, one of the largest companies, probably the largest company in Latin America for extended warranties. And this is extremely important because this we are all offering to the dealer and to the consumer as well. So the dealer has become and is becoming a reseller of our products. But at the same time, on C2C, if a consumer wants to purchase a car from another consumer, and at the same time he needs or he feels the need to get an additional extended warranty in that product, he can do it through us. So we're adding even more value to it. So we feel that that is a fantastic product of additionally to our product. We have started doing online car sales, and we did our first pilot with GM. We sold 25 cars online in Latin America, and not yet. In South America, we hard to sell but low, you know, we work with GM because GM is a very established brand, and people already know, and they are very clear about what they're buying. So basically, in other words, what we did is we created promotions and we created ways in which we can push the sales of new cars. We believe that the new car catalog has to evolve, and it has evolved into this. We've done strong partnership with the Carfax company, you know, where you can trace the history of the cars. If the cars have been in accidents or have been reported to have substantial accidents or issues with the engine, all this is most of this information is already there. It has now been integrated into the company and into our sites. And now what we want to do is basically show you, first is a tool for the dealer. So when the dealer is buying a car, he actually will run a Carfax process and then negotiate and know if the car has ever been reported stolen, if the car has ever had any problems. And then, you know, he has a certain, the car comes from a good place. And also, if you're a buyer and a customer, and you want to make sure that the car has had no major accidents and stuff like that, then you can also consult our Carfax. And finally, we have entered the truck and heavy machinery financing. And this has been pretty interesting because once we started doing the traditional vehicle financing, we realized that the process was very similar, but the ticket price was about 10 times more than the average, traditional vehicle. So this has also become a very interesting product for our company. 1 out of 5 this transaction represents up to 10 times more revenue than a monthly classified package in Mexico. So if we finance one car, it's 10 times the dealer package of classified. So, this gives you an idea of why we think this is very high value. This is basically it. It's been a very interesting. It's been a very interesting process. Hasn't been easy, but it has worked great in many ways, and we think that we're moving forward really fast. And we'll see the next year. Hopefully, we can share with you how much we have grown in the next few months. So, thank you.
Do you see any different uptake rate
have done is we have moved forward. We have learned how each product works, and each product works different. So it's super important to actually understand the process before you actually get going by. So it makes much better sense to do MVPs and then move from the MVP towards the line.
Okay. How representative is the ancillary revenue? What percentage of your revenue?
Since we started, is the numbers one source of revenue.
So the way to think about it is you started the world as advertising, found it slightly challenging, then realised that getting the transaction through insurance and financing and GPS and etc. Makes a lot more sense. By doing that, you unleashed a very big revenue stream across your major markets.
That's correct.
Which I love what these guys have done. How much of the revenue contribution from these services? We've talked about that already. How do you see that growing in the next 2 years?
Oh, it should be the majority of the revenues in the next. It is already slightly, but it's right there with classifieds and with advertising. It's right above that. But at the growth that we've seen, we're probably going to be in the next 12 months is going to be, the absolute #1 revenue source of the company. And this is taking out the goods of tops out of the revenue.
Excellent. And lastly, the dealers in the markets use multiple customer platforms.
Well, they are, but in some of they are, but I think that with Facebook, I think that it becomes now they are very challenging because now everybody can do multiple classifieds, multiple publishing, multiple sites at the same time. So you see already Lisa and other players already publishing many classifieds. I think that also there's a lot of multiple posting classified companies that have come into the market, so I don't know how that's going to play out.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Pleasure.